Attention gamers. One day I will tell my kids about the brain rot age and how I played League of Legends during a time where Uncle Rito could buff a champion, which would somehow cause that champ's win rate to go down because of a phenomenon known as the content conundrum. And the problem starts with people like me. You see, content creators for League of Legends are like dehydrated dying babies in an endless pursuit of a milk-filled tit in a world where all tits are tapped. After making over 500 videos for a game that barely changes compared to its competitors who are hosting literal concerts in-game, it begins to become a bit of search and rescue for anything new that can make for a good video. Which is why when we see back-to-back buffs or bug fixes that slightly change a champion, like when Vladimir's healing got its balls fondled a few weeks back, our clickbait ears perk up, so we end up filling a custom lobby full of simps that either suck ass at the game or willingly feed into us to make these changes look super OP, and then you, as some may call the ants, buy straight into this BS and start first timing in your games without realizing that champs like Vlad are not as beginner friendly as, say, Garen. So pick rate goes up while win rate drops like a dead man's blood pressure, and the only people who actually play Vlad are saying the change isn't even that good. And you know what Riot does next? I'll give you 4 seconds to guess.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They nerf it. The freaking piss-awful win rate champ gets worse, and that, my friends, is the content conundrum. So today I'm gonna let you peep under the hood from the clickbait side of the house by showing how a good Vladimir player, aka C9's top laner, is abusing these buffs. But then I will show you the dark side of me trying to make it look good in real games against real people, to give a glimpse into what us greedy heartless YouTubers don't want you to see. Now please like, subscribe, give me money, all the things I'm supposed to say, and let's get into it. Alright, starting with Mr. Pro Gamer, you can see, I guess step 1 to not feeding your Draco Malfoy dick off is to be able to get every farm with your Flaccid Mage auto attacks as you slowly push the hoodlums toward the genocide statue. He maxes his W first and uses it to melt his way through advantageous trades, healing up while the top heavy geode can't keep up. This continues without either involved party visiting the base until it's his 6th birthday, and he plans on celebrating with a homicide as he ults the rock and then steps away, seemingly reconsidering if he wants to give David Blaine a wad of that assist G, even if it means the idiot will fall over and die himself. But the pattern of push in and puddle continues as he has almost double the farm of the Violet Cat turd. And considering he's rocking Demolish, this results in an easy breezy beautiful cover girl of a first tower up top. Because he's more pushed up than a TikToker's tits, he decides to take a quick vacay down south to introduce himself as the guy diffing the shit out of the enemy team's top laner, and his presence isn't initially welcomed, but he just wasted a summoner spell to be here, so he spends his second to make sure the trip is worthwhile, knowing that his TP was still eons better than his counterpart who arrived at the party long after all the hot girls left. At this point it's been a relatively boring game, but I guess he uses that borderline criminal solo lane XP to bully the babes of the bot lane away from defending any tier 2 tower to keep the team gold flowing for his boys. Apparently there was a Project X type of banger scheduled to go down up top, and of course Herpes Henry over here wanted to be a part of all the fresh blood, but upon arriving their mid laner was like, "What do you think you are doing?" and left him super wounded. He sticks around long enough to suck off a minion so that he can feel alive again, and then busts a blood nut on one of the fleeing partygoers. At this point he's back and ready to attack as he spills Kool-Aid on Gwen's shoes before going full menstrual under her to turn the fight. And while this video will highlight many of the differences between a high elo pro and the piss pit rank clickbaiter gameplay of yours truly, I think the most drastic difference is when we see a jungler actually hold his camp so that Vlad can get the gold for them. If anyone who plays in Silver Elo has ever experienced this fairy tale fantasy land type of generosity in their games, you gotta let me know. But anyways, he uses that gold to do another little TP into danger. It's looking shittier than a porta potty at a peanut convention, but I guess when you sign a contract to be good at this game you don't just die, as we see him stare down 3 members of the Red Health Bar Academy and somehow fend off their attacks long enough for the cavalry to arrive and take them down. At this point he's 3 levels up on most people in the game, despite roaming like a T-Mobile data plan, and the first person he wants to show is the hot ginger with the pistols. He's basically a raid boss at this point, and there's no shot Sweeney Todd's daughter will be able to survive a blood infusion from this bitch, as he kind of just bleeds on her for a few seconds until she passes away. This leads to an uneventful breach of the base, as despite building only offensive items he isn't at much of a risk of dying because he has more than 3 brain cells and all the healing that came from Riot's clickbait buffs, which results in an easy, well executed but boring as shit win for the pro. It was now my turn to farm my low elo shit footage and hope to pop off so I could say this bullshit is the greatest thing since sliced mana biscuits, but the unfortunate reality was that I was laning against a Garen player. No amount of me sarcastically implying that my jungler's absence from my life was causing all my own shortcomings was going to make up for the fact that I was a shithead, and even in the presence of non-Garen players I couldn't even manage to piss in a cup without fucking something up, so the first attempt was a pitiful performance. Game 2 I was against a Mundo, so you can assume I ended up dying 3 times and then half AFKing while doom scrolling through some political debate over whether dorm room sex is a scam or some shit.
Yes, they're technically sent themselves. I was just Arizona State University moving. Everyone had their parents there. They were co-signing on loans. They were there helping pay for stuff. Parents are the ones that are still checking in. They're the ones that like.
Game 3 was against a Kled, and this was going to be the clickbait video. I could feel it. Psych, I died 11 times and played so bad my teammates were asking if I was new to this game. It wasn't until the 4th game that I had something go over 20 minutes without an insane top gap ruining it for everyone else. This game started pretty much how all my 4th games in a row on a losing streak do, with me tabbed out with the absolute least amount of interest in what I just loaded into, which long story short meant I was tardy to the pre-game party, and after a few question marks on my face I did stumble over to lend my bloody paws, but this is silver in the non-simp custom viewer reality, which means my Caitlyn has seen enough of me soft jerking it pre-wave and was ready to call it quits already. But aside from fucking turbo virgin losers who type GG before the game starts, this one was looking sweeter, no pun intended, as early trades were getting me closer to that honeypot, no pun intended. But let's remind you about the reality of the rift. So for the next 20 minutes I did receive question mark pings on my body on cooldown from my teammates. Then I remembered that this champ feels like dog shit to play when you have no clue what you are doing and just want to make a clickbait YouTube video. So when the beekeeper hit 6 it was just a glorious time for me to sing my swan song, which in this case was a poorly executed combo before slowly giving into the ass gas he was spraying on me. That said, my farm was decent, so I figured there was hope, but of course this would be the game where a 9-minute top laner decides to adopt a fucking cat as if he heard it was from Springfield and would be eaten otherwise, so yay me for getting to experience this shit. At one point my jungler was more caught than Dr. Disrespect with his DMs open, so I rotated to quite literally save his life, but let me remind you that he was a degenerate fuck that deserves to taste nothing but rotten turmeric every time he tries to enjoy a meal for the rest of his life. I was continuing to prove that the top lane being a long runway and to not overextend in against a singed is an unlearnable concept for someone of my brain density, and the experience was always decorated with pink flames from my coworkers. But I was on a mission, and that was to do good enough in a game to clickbait a shitty buff as being game-changingly OP, so everyone gaze upon my first kill as I flanked a dumb blonde and bled on her until she slowly died of a staph infection. My jungler was caught again because he was too busy pantomime pinging all game to watch where he was going, but I had a perfect 3-man grouped ult opportunity in front of me, to which I waited for them to spread out and then hit a slightly more incompetent ult on just one of them before morphing into a sad little puddle underneath the remainder of the bad guys being led by that beekeeper PETA advocate, and this wasn't looking great. You see, everyone else on their team was about as useful as a condom in a convent, but it didn't matter because Yumi is still S tier on the bullshit and should be removed rankings, at least as of the last time I checked, and if you disagree with that statement then maybe you should stop touching yourself at night to your mom's lifestyle magazines and open your eyes. Sorry, back to the regularly scheduled programming of me trying not to suck so that I can make thousands of equally bad players think what I am doing will be the key to them winning games. #League of Legends YouTubing in 2024, but it turns out I wasn't graced with Swag's custom lobby squad, which also meant these kids were actually able and trying to kill me, which also meant that I would be verbally berated and forced to resort to 7th grade humor in order to deflect away from my own embarrassing failures. At one point I hit a sick as fuck teleport because word on the street was my Skarner was about to do the first useful thing of his life and someone had to be there to bleed on everyone, which is ironic because I still managed to die of AIDS myself. That said, I think the play with this Slytherin Nazi is to play like a pussy and then scale late, because one play made me look like a total giga Chad as I knocked out a Karasmai viewer in front of his carry before taking a victory lap on Thresh's Lantern. Not to mention in 1v1s, as long as I had every single cooldown at my disposal and was willing to waste my flash, I could make the solo bolos look easy as piss. Not to brag, this single-handedly secured us and Elder Drake, and then not to brag, I immediately ran to the nearest enemy and just flat out gave it away. But the important thing to note is that at one point we did successfully gangbang the flatulent furry breeder, and seeing as he was quite literally the only person on the enemy team with enemy gold thanks to yours truly, the rest of them fell over like dumbass dominoes and we marched down mid, ending the game with ease. So I hope this video helped provide some clarity into how the sausage is made by me and other League YouTubers who are just waiting for the next hardcore WoW journey to start so that they can make better videos for a game they actually enjoy. But until then, you should try Vlad, because clearly these WMAX changes are broken as shit. Rav out.